connected to this flag right. As I'm connected, I'm a gangbanger, man. I'm connected.
Blood, when my brother became a Blood, I was gangbanging and I did it all.
Was it a Crip set, Blood set?
It was a Blood set, but it was one of those things where that's the area that I grew up in.
Have you ever looked at famous celebrities and thought they were just all glitz and glamour? Well, think again. Behind the flashy lights and red carpets, well, turns out there was a darker side to some celebrities that they conveniently leave out of the brochures. Because there are some really surprising stories of celebrities who were once involved in thug life.
It's one of the biggest gangs, one of the biggest Crip gangs. Our generation, you know what I'm saying, was kind of responsible for like putting it on the map in terms of like hustling and business.
Yes, you heard it right. Today we are going to look at 6 celebrities that were or still are involved with gangs. First up, remember MC Hammer. Well, words on the street is that he wasn't just about the parachute pants and catchy tunes. He hustled a gack off dealing drugs and facing off in turf shootouts in his neighborhood. But guess what? It appears he was recognized in some circles as the most feared thug of his time. Even Suge Knight dared not mess with him.
So we thought, oh, we'll go to Church Boy. We'll go with MC Hammer, but he was the most gangster one of all. I heard about him.
Then there's Terrence Howard, known for his tough guy roles in movies like Empire. But did you know he used bullying and intimidation tactics in real life? And who would have thought Barry White, the smooth voice behind romantic hits, once ran with gangs in his tough LA neighborhood? He even did time in jail as a teen. What about Chingy? He grew up surrounded by gang life, influenced by family ties to blood affiliations, which led him to flirt with a life of crime. Even Cisco, known for his smooth R&B hits, had a thug past he's not shy to talk about. For him, it's all about keeping it real. Lastly, August Anthony Alsina was no stranger to the streets, having come from a troubled family background and getting into drug dealings. So, buckle up, folks, and get ready to delve into the unexpected backgrounds of these stars. You might just see them in a whole new light after learning about their thug-filled past. MC Hammer.
So we thought, oh, we'll go to Church Boy. We'll go with MC Hammer, but he was the most gangster one of all. I heard about him.
Did you know that MC Hammer, the famous rapper, had a secret life as a tough gangster? It's true. Despite his catchy music and flashy dance moves, he appears to have had a darker side that few people knew about. Hammer was known in some circles as one of the scariest thugs around, even more feared than Suge Knight. But why was he so tough? Let's take a closer look at his past. Growing up in a rough neighborhood filled with violence and crime, Hammer witnessed firsthand the struggles of his community. Instead of turning a blind eye, he decided to take action. As he rose to fame in the late 80s, he didn't forget where he came from. In fact, he brought his entire neighborhood along for the ride. He put his entire hood on payroll. Yes, you heard that right. Hammer paid each person a generous salary, $50,000 a year, ensuring they had a steady income and stayed out of trouble. His actions by default became a full-scale prison and work program. Wherever Hammer went, he had an army of loyal supporters by his side. Whether it was 100 deep or just a handful, his entourage included everyone from drug dealers to enforcers, ensuring his safety and dominance in the industry. I mean, this is a head-scratcher. And of course, with their unwavering loyalty, Hammer became one of the most feared figures in the rap world, surpassing even notorious names like Suge Knight. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Growing up in the tough streets of East Oakland, Hammer learned to fight for what he believed in. That same aggression he brought to the dance floor, he could bring it to a fistfight if needed. You see, disrespecting MC Hammer wasn't just a jab at his reputation, it was like playing with fire. Take LL Cool J, for example. He thought he could take a swing at Hammer with his lyrics in To the Break of Dawn, and Hammer's response was swift. When LL came to Oakland for a show, Hammer's crew allegedly made sure he got a taste of his own medicine backstage. And let's just say, it wasn't a friendly handshake, delivering their message loud and clear. Then there was Ice Cube, dropping hints in his song True to the Game. He didn't think Hammer was street enough, trying to paint him as something he wasn't. But when Hammer got wind of it, he didn't waste any time. He and his crew sped down the freeway to confront Ice Cube outside Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. Face to face, Hammer let Cube know he wasn't having any of it. He demanded respect and made it clear that he wouldn't tolerate being portrayed in a false light. Cube, realizing he'd crossed a line, quickly penned an apology in the Source magazine. His actions sent a message to the rap world. Disrespecting him was not a wise move. MC Hammer wasn't just a dancer in genie pants. He was a force to be reckoned with, ready to defend his honor at any cost. Mess with him, and you'd better be ready for the consequences. So next time you think about taking a shot at him, just remember, messing with Hammer meant playing with fire, and you were bound to get burned. Barry White.
Were you ever wrong? Did you ever do any of the things that your brother did?
Hell yeah, I just didn't get caught doing it.
What kind of things did you do?
Stealing cars, gang activity.
Barry White was born in Galveston, Texas, but spent his childhood years in South Central Los Angeles. He and his younger brother Daryl roamed the streets of South Central, committing petty crimes. Daryl was much more of a troublemaker than Barry. When he was 8 years old, he was already sentenced to several months in a juvenile detention center. However, as they reached their mid-teens in the early 1960s, Barry's and Daryl's mischief turned into something more dangerous. They joined the Businessmen, one of the biggest territorial gangs that operated in South Central at the time. The gang earned the name the Businessmen because they envisioned themselves not as hoodlums, but as tacticians who knew how to take care of business.
I was a dedicated member to my gang. I burglarized, I stole cars, I fought, was in gang fights. In 1960, I went to jail.
Most members of the Businessmen engaged in various illicit activities, such as dealing in marijuana and barbiturates, and violent conflicts were a part of their daily routine. They frequently clashed with members of rival gangs, such as the Slossons, the Gladiators, and the Del Vikings, and these clashes could end in serious injuries and deaths. When fighting, the Businessmen regularly wielded knives and blunt weapons such as baseball bats and makeshift batons, but they were also known to use firearms. When Barry White was 16, he was caught stealing approximately $30,000 worth of tires from a Cadillac lot and sentenced to 7 months in prison. He was most likely employed by the gang to conduct the theft. That same year, his brother Daryl was unalived by the members of a rival gang. In an interview with The Source, he said, "He was my best friend and my life till he died. He was night and I was day." Daryl paid for his involvement in the gang war with his life, and grief-stricken and depressed Barry vowed never to engage in any crime for the rest of his life. White also chose to be transparent about his past to his young fans later in life. "So I tell young people the truth, and a lot of them listen," he said. "They know I've been to jail. I've never hid my past, and I never will. I don't want no young person to think he's stuck in that misery." Cisco growing up in Baltimore. Cisco's life wasn't easy. He spent summers with his grandma, and trust me, they weren't all sunshine, fun times, or happiness. Instead, he found himself tangled up in street troubles. It got so bad that he ended up in jail 3 times. Now, Cisco didn't hide his past. He openly talked about growing up surrounded by crime and violence. He got caught up in selling drugs and doing petty crimes, trying to make something of himself in a tough environment. I mean, in those days, the street seemed like the only option. Money and respect came quickly, even if it meant doing things that were against the law. Cisco, like many others, got pulled into this dangerous world where toughness was everything. But hey, we're not done yet. In an interview with a source, he spilled the tea about it, saying, "The whole thug thing was something from my youth. It isn't about being or not being a thug, it's about being real. I think that is how street respect is earned. Unfortunately for me, The immediate clique I was in had to do something derogatory to gain respect. He continued, "We banged people. If you came into our neighborhood and we didn't know you, we'd jump you. And my job was to be the first one to hit the guy. I liked that, because if I was the first one to hit him, the next day everyone would be talking about it. I did all that just to make people think I was tough." But Cisco realized something important. Being tough wasn't the real him. He did things just to fit in, to make others see him as strong. Even if it meant hurting people, he played along. It took being locked up at 16 to make him see where his choices were leading him. Sitting in that jail cell, he had a wake-up call. He realized he didn't want this life. He wanted something better. Terrence Howard. Now, let's talk about Terrence Howard. Before he starred in the hit show Empire, there was a story of pain and struggle behind the scenes, involving his ex-wife, Michelle Gant. Their relationship was far from picture perfect, marked by allegations of abuse and control. Michelle and Terrence had a rough time together. They went through a process called mediation to sort out their problems. But wait, it gets juicier. They reached an agreement where Michelle gave up her rights to pursue legal action against Terrence for mistreating her and promised not to reveal details about their marriage and promised to pay her some money. But the story didn't end there. Michelle also accused Terrence of using bullying tactics during their time together. Not just physically, but emotionally and mentally too. She said he made her feel small, manipulating and scaring her to keep her under his thumb. Terrence didn't hold up his end of the deal. He refused to pay what was agreed upon, leaving Michelle to fight him in court multiple times just to get the support she was owed. All the while, he continued to harass her, even after remarrying. During the legal battle, a verdict was given. The judge didn't mince words, calling Terrence a bully himself. The ruling highlighted a crucial point. Being a bully doesn't make you immune to being bullied. Chingy.
My whole family, on my father's side and mother's side, has a blood background, and it goes back to California.
So, you all know Chingy, right? I mean, you might remember him from songs like Right Thur and Holiday Inn. Well, his thug story begins in St. Louis, Missouri, where his family history runs deep with connections to gangs. Growing up, the influence of gang affiliation was heavy in his neighborhood during the 80s. Surrounded by older brothers, cousins, and friends who were part of the Bloods, Chingy found himself drawn to the allure of gang life at a young age. At just 12 years old, he began to mimic the behavior of his older relatives, thinking it was cool to be part of the Bloods. Starting out as a game, it soon escalated into real conflicts, with fights breaking out at skate rings and on the streets over colors and affiliations. But hey, we're not done yet. One particular incident stands out in Chingy's life when he was 17 years old. Riding with his cousin and older brother in his mom's car, they stumbled upon a fight between two of Chingy's friends and some larger opponents. Without a second thought, Chingy jumped out of the car and knocked one of the opponents out cold.
When I was 17, I remember me, my cousin, and my older cousin and my older brother was riding, and we was finna go. We was in my mama's car. My little homeboys fighting. Two of my little homeboys was on the street fighting some cats bigger than them. I just got out the car, walked over there, and knocked dude out.
But the situation took a dangerous turn when they realized one of the opponents had a gun. Bullets flew, and Chingy narrowly escaped with his life as a bullet grazed his eye and another his head. It was a wake-up call for Chingy, realizing how close he came to death over a street brawl. With this close call, Chingy's life definitely took a different turn. He channeled his energy into music, eventually rising to fame as a rapper. From dodging bullets to topping the charts, August Alsina.
Because I'm in the car with you riding with crack, I'm holding your crack, I'm making sales for you, I'm counting your money, you know what I'm saying? And so if we get pulled over, I'm going to jail too.
Anyone seeing August Alsina in that video would never imagine he could hurt a fly. But trust me, looks can be deceiving. Growing up was a tough call for Alcina. His family was always in turmoil, with his dad and later his stepdad battling addiction. Then Hurricane Katrina hit, and his mom moved them to Houston for a fresh start. But tragedy struck again when his dad succumbed to substance abuse. Music became Alcina's refuge in the chaos. Despite his family's indifference to it, he found peace in melodies. Watching Lauryn Hill's soulful performance sparked something in him, igniting a passion for singing. Posting covers on YouTube was just a hobby at first, but as views piled up, so did his dreams. Yet his mom didn't see it that way, and they clashed. At 16, he was out on the streets of New Orleans trying to survive. However, his life became unsettled, and as deprivation knocked on his door, he took to the streets and got involved in drug dealings. Life was bleak until his brother stepped in and took care of him for a short period, while he was also struggling in the streets for a living. But to make matters worse, his brother was unallied only a short time after. It was at this point Alcina knew he had to turn his life around. Music became his lifeline once more. Surprised? These 6 celebrities may have charmed us on screen, but behind the scenes, they've got a thug side. From shady dealings to run-ins with the law, their real-life stories shock and intrigue. It's kinda a reminder that fame doesn't always equal squeaky clean behavior. But hey, keep your eyes peeled for more jaw-dropping revelations. And that's it for today. Bye.